Well, welcome, Connect Community, to another installment of our midweek study. We're so glad you're able to join us today. We're going to spend 30 minutes together in this setting. We're going to sing a song, and then we will share a few thoughts, continuing the Sermon on the Mount. And then the really special treat about tonight is that we'll get together in connect groups. So plan to do that right after the study. That's when you grow. That's when you connect to other people, and you get to share insight, thoughts, ideas, and receive prayer for anything you might need or pray for others. We're going to get started. This is my friend Dan. If this is your first time with us, I'm JD, and we are part of Connect Community, a church here in Stamford, Connecticut. We're so glad to be able to come to you via video today. Dan, lead us into worship. Take it away, buddy. No Longer Slaves. That's a great song, and you did it so well. It's so good to have you guys again back. We're continuing our Sermon on the Mount study today. So we're going to pick up on verse 13. We did the Beatitudes the past couple months. And September,
You're only going to do it for 1 or 2.
we're going to do salt and light in September. So we're going to do salt today and light next midweek study, which will be on the 23rd of September.
It's going by so fast.
So fast. So fast.
It was March just a couple of weeks
here we
back.
are. So why don't you read verse 13 for us, my friend?
Yeah, Matthew 5, right?
Matthew 5:13. Yes.
You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet.
There you go. You want to give us some thoughts about the...
I love how this sort of opens up. I'm a grill and meat guy, right?
That's right.
And as you're sort of preparing, people always ask, like, this tastes amazing. I'm like, it's just the salt.
It's the salt.
Mixed in with the meat. And I think as I was sort of working in my mind on this, it just sort of keep bringing me back to the barbecue and sort of coming back and how much I love meat and how much you sort of order it to a specific way. But if it wasn't for the salt, if it wasn't for that specific, just enough, you got to make sure you put it in, just cover it, and you just got to go. But it's the right amount. And I think in life, as Christians, we must understand who we are.
Yeah.
And I guess you can mix it with the right meat, right? You mix it with the right ingredients, and it comes out to something that is pleasant to people.
Salt of the earth, right?
Salt of the earth, baby.
Salt of the earth. We are to season and apply who we are in every sphere.
Yep.
Everywhere we go, we sprinkle that salt. You know, you talked about steak and salt, and as you know, some of you know, I have I have undergone some medical issues last year, and I've been put on a no salt diet by my doctor, and I've had a steak.
This verse doesn't apply to you then.
I've had many a steak. I am exempt from Matthew 5:13.
Classic.
I've had many a steak with no salt, and I'll tell you, salt makes all the difference. Just to piggyback on your steak reference. But there are two things about salt that I think are very important for us to remember. If you had your history lesson, I'm going to remind you today. And these are things that Jesus's listeners would have connected to, just like we connect to seasoning meat, because we're steak people. All the vegans and vegetarians, I'm sorry, but it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to say anything else about that. First thing is this: salt was almost like a currency balance or measure back in those days. The word salt is where we draw the word salarium or salary from. And it means that however much money you make is compared to how much salt you can buy. So it's almost as though it's like, what's your salary? Meaning, how much salt can you buy with the money that you make each time you get paid? So when Jesus' listeners heard about salt, they immediately thought something valuable. So he's saying, you are the salt of the earth. You are one of the most valuable things that this earth possesses, that our system, our economic system possesses. It's be like saying you are gold, right? Which you are. You are.
I'm thinking of a song. I just can't think of anything that we're wrong.
So just think about that, right? You are the salt of the earth. Just take that part. And Jesus comparing his listeners who are not in as far as the power levels, right? They're not at the top.
Yep.
They are dispossessed. They're under a government that is not theirs. And he's saying, you are the salt of the earth. You are what brings value to the earth. You are what brings value to culture, to relationships, to people. Now, imagine what that speaks to people right now who are watching, people every day, right? If you put your faith in Christ, it means you have something to add to our society, our communities, that is invaluable.
There's something that changes once we understand.
Yes.
And we take that identity of, hey, I bring something to the table when I come into
Yes.
conversations. And when you understand that you are the salt of the earth, then when you begin to act like it,
Yes.
I think something different happens, right? When you come into a situation, there's peace. There's something that you can
Yes.
also introduce to. That you're not just a flower on the wall. And I think once we get that identity in our mind in terms of who we are, that we are the salt of the earth, that we're bringing flavor to whatever conversation,
Yeah.
that there's a value to it. I think there's also a lot to it, is a lot in terms of our mindset, right?
Yeah.
Understanding who we are and
Mhm.
what we can bring into when we walk into a situation.
Well, because think about our infrastructure, right, as a society, and also how we value people, right? Let's just talk about that. Outside of the Christian spectrum, how do we value people? We value people for what they have to offer, talent-wise, and what they bring to the table in terms of wealth or
Finances, yep.
influence, right? It's a very fine and finite pool of resources that we use to analyze whether somebody is valuable or not. It could be their education, the amount of money they have, who they know.
That's the
Right.
third one. Yep.
Exactly. Right? And when you put yourself in that spectrum and you go like, well, I don't have a lot of those things. What am I going to bring, right? What am I going to do? And we can get into a mindset where we think, like you said, that we don't have anything that's worth saying or offering
Yep.
to those around us.
If you keep going towards the, further into the verse, it says, "How shall its saltness be restored?" Right? I think we must have the whole restoration of our minds in terms of who we are until you get that identity, until you sort of begin to understand. And I think the world needs that, what we can bring to the table. But if you continue to sort of hide behind the fact that we don't have that which the world thinks that is valuable, which is money, influence, or whatever else that it could be, it's almost like they are waiting for us to arrive.
Yeah.
Yet we are sort of sitting back, taking this unsalted approach to our lives, when God has really, we sung about, we're no longer slaves, we're children of God.
Yeah.
And that identity is very important for us to understand what comes along with being a child of God.
Yes. Yes. That's powerful. You are the salt of the earth. I hope people listening will get a hold of this in their hearts, that you are the salt of the earth. Meaning that which, not just something valuable, that which value is measured by.
Yep.
That's a huge revelation, right? You're not just something valuable. You are that which value is measured by. Because money was measured against. Like, in other words, you're not a length. You're the ruler.
Yep.
Right? You're the tape measure. You're the unit measure. And when Jesus shares that, when he makes that statement, he's saying something about his followers. He's saying something about the people who are learning from him. But there's something to the salt. I was reading this and preparing for this, and I was thinking, how can salt lose its flavor? Because he says, if salt has lost its taste, can salt lose its taste? I thought salt didn't expire. I thought salt can't lose its taste because it's actually used to preserve. Again, in my saltless life, I came to realize how many products have sodium in them.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them, it's all because of the shelf life. Some of them has so much sodium that I can't eat because it will blow up my daily intake of sodium.
I feel for you, bro.
I know, I'm sorry. It's hard on you, right? To know that I go through that. But I was doing some research. The only way salt, because salt is a prime material, right? It's in its essence, it is what it is sodium chloride. The only way for salt to lose its saltiness is if it loses its purity. The less pure salt is, the quicker it will lose its saltiness. The more it's mixed in with other ingredients. So the people listening, they live near the Dead Sea. And in the Dead Sea, the Dead Sea is dead because there's a high salt content, right?
Yep.
But there's also other things in the water that makes that salt not as pure. So they understood that there are different kinds of salt. And the purer the salt, the longer it lasts. Meaning the salt that's pure does not lose its saltiness. So that's what Jesus is saying, right? You're the salt of the earth, but you have to be the kind of salt that does not lose its saltiness. And the way to do that is to be pure. Now we're going back to purity, right? Being pure means being holy.
Yep, separate.
It's all that if you grew up in church, it's set apart. It's being holy. It's having a clear-cut separation in the way you live, not being dictated by the patterns of the world, but by being dictated by your relationship with God. That makes a difference. And that's what seasons the world. That's what brings flavor to the world. Our connection to God,
yep,
and what we bring to a world that is lost. Really lost. And if there's any evidence that you need that the world is lost, just log into Reddit or Facebook or Instagram.
Don't have to go too far for
and
that.
read the comments, read some tweets, and you will be depressed. The world is lost.
When you look at how, I think Jackie sort of talks about this a lot when she's home, how sometimes she leaves salt exposed on top of the stove when she's cooking, and suddenly that salt will become hard, brittle. And I think the exposure sometimes of our lives, and sometimes we can allow that, if you are the salt of the earth, the exposure to life sometimes will cause us to become hard and brittle. But when you break that salt apart, it still has the same saltiness to it, and you can still season. The ability for us to still remain
Praise
effective
the Lord.
in our community.
Preach. Oh,
Ooh, I feel it.
Lord.
Is while we still remain exposed to the elements of our lives, that we still remain not hard to it. Because you can go through a couple of things that would allow you to, or cause you to be hard and not really reach people, or to be the salt that you have to be. So it's very important that we don't become too exposed, overexposed to life.
And the fact is this, right? So we are all, most people who are watching, the vast majority, are gospel believers, Jesus followers, right? If you are not, we invite you in the journey. It's for you. And I believe what this passage teaches us more than anything is that if the gospel you're preaching, if the life that you're living, if the Christ likeness that you're showing is not pure, you're not going to make any difference. People are going to walk all over you because what you say will not have any authority.
Yep.
What you share is not going to carry any weight because it's just going to be out of whatever wonderings from the top of your mind. It's not going to be based on conviction and think something that you lived out in Christ. So what Jesus is teaching us is the value that we bring to the earth and the measure that we are compared to things that culture, family tradition, curses from past generations, all sorts of things that we are exposed to. What's going to make a difference is a untainted, unadulterated relationship with Christ that is pure.
Yep.
It's pure. I love that. And I think we have given enough.
Cut.
I think we have given you enough to discuss. There's a lot in this passage that you can meditate and talk about in Connect groups right now, but also throughout the week, meditate in what it means for you to be the salt of the earth in your family, what it means for you to be the salt of the earth in your workplace, what it means for you to be the salt of the earth in your marriage, in your relationship. Maybe you're the only one who's a believer. And you don't want to preach Jesus down people's throats. But what does it mean for you to bring Christ, bring the gospel into the context of your reality, the context of your life, and cause a difference? Because you should not hide. And that's what we're going to talk about next midweek service. You should not hide your light under a bushel. You should let your light shine. And let me encourage you to do that, to persevere in that, to think about that. Now, before I let you go, just listen to this. We are doing something super special on September 22nd. We are helping an organization called Filling in the Blanks feed children who are underprivileged and underserved in our region here in Stanford and Norwalk. What this organization does, they partner with schools and they provide meals for kids, students in our schools who cannot afford a meal during the week, or can't pay for lunch in school, or even during the weekends. So they receive donations, they package them, and they go deliver them in people's houses and at the school. I think it's a great project for us to get behind. So as a church, we're partnering with them. This is our back to school effort. We're going to drop off donations September 22nd from 3 to 5 p.m. Again, September 22nd from 3 to 5 p.m. The information will be given to you via email. I just want to give you a heads up that we're going to be a part of this.
Awesome.
3 things we're giving: mac and cheese, canned tuna, and shelf-stable milk. Those are the 3 items that our organization is in charge of. I'm really excited to help, and it's going to be great. Let's go to our Connect groups now. Click on the link, and we will see you again here September 23rd for our next midweek study, talking about being the light of the world. Love you guys.
Be blessed.
You want to wave? Let's wave.
This is how I wave.